Hello everyone, I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Today, we're diving into a heartwarming story. Alex secretly finds a cozy little place near the market for Lytuna and baby Henry, a space where she can live safely and start her own fruit shop. But behind this beautiful surprise lies something even deeper. A new beginning built on love, trust, and quiet dreams. If you enjoy emotional stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next episode. Morning sunlight shimmered through thin clouds above the fields, spreading softly across the quiet countryside. Alex drove along the narrow dirt road, dust rising behind the car, his thoughts drifting toward Lytuna and little Henry. For weeks, one idea had been growing inside his mind: to find a better place for them, somewhere closer to the market, where Lytuna could sell the fresh fruit from their farm and earn her own income. The farm was peaceful, but isolated. Every trip to town meant an hour on the old road, and when the rains came, it often flooded. Alex knew Lytuna never complained, yet every time he saw her carrying baskets of fruit under the hot sun, his heart tightened. She deserved something easier, something safer. He had spent the last few days searching quietly, visiting small streets near the market, pretending it was just business. But today, as he turned into a narrow alley lined with bougainvillea and small vendor stalls, he finally saw it. A modest house with a clean storefront and a cozy loft above. It wasn't large, but it had warmth. The downstairs space opened to the street, perfect for setting up fruit baskets and displaying products. A narrow staircase led to the loft, a small, cozy sleeping area with wooden floors and a window facing east, where morning light would pour in. Alex walked through the space slowly. He imagined Lytuna sitting by the counter, greeting customers with her quiet smile, while Henry napped upstairs, wrapped in a soft blanket. When the rain came, they could close the shutters and listen to it pattering on the roof. Safe, dry, together. Yes, he whispered to himself. This is the one. A middle-aged landlord appeared, wiping her hands on her apron. Looking to rent? Alex nodded. How much for the month? She smiled kindly. It's small but clean, good for a small family. The last tenant moved to the city. You seem like someone who'd take care of it. He agreed on the spot. The rent was manageable, and the location perfect. Just 5 minutes from the main market, yet tucked far enough to stay quiet at night. When the paperwork was done, Alex stood alone again in the little room, looking around with a satisfied smile. He pictured Lytuna's reaction. She would be surprised, maybe even cry. She had always told him not to spend money on her, that she was content at the farm, but he wanted her to have something of her own. A place she could build with her hands, where Henry could sleep soundly, even when storms rolled through. That evening, the farm glowed golden under the setting sun. Lytuna sat on the porch, rocking Henry gently as she hummed a lullaby. When Alex returned, she looked up and smiled. "You're late again," she teased. "Did something happen at work?" Alex crouched beside her, brushing dust from his sleeves. "Nothing bad. I was just checking something in town." "You've been checking a lot of things lately," she said with a curious look. He chuckled. "You'll see soon." Lytuna didn't ask further. She'd learned that when Alex spoke in that tone, something thoughtful was coming. She smiled, adjusting the baby's blanket. "Henry missed you." "I missed him too," Alex said, touching his son's tiny hand. "And I missed you." They sat in silence for a while, watching the last light fade behind the hills. Crickets started to sing. The scent of ripe guava drifted in from the trees. The next morning, Alex woke early. Lytuna was still asleep, one arm around Henry, their faces peaceful in the pale dawn light. He watched them for a long moment before quietly slipping out. He spent the morning cleaning the new place himself, sweeping dust from the corners, fixing a loose step on the stairs, and scrubbing the windows until the sunlight poured freely in. He brought a few baskets from the farm and arranged them by the front door, imagining how they would look filled with fresh fruit. Then, he bought a small potted plant from a nearby stall, a blooming yellow daisy, and placed it by the window. By noon, the little shop looked alive. Alex leaned against the wall, feeling both tired and happy. The space wasn't perfect, but it carried warmth, possibility, and love. That evening, when he returned to the farm, Lytuna was preparing dinner. The smell of soup filled the air. "You're home early today," she said, surprised. Alex smiled mysteriously. "Come with me. Bring Henry too." "Now? It's almost dark," she said, laughing. "Just trust me," he replied. After a moment's hesitation, she wrapped Henry in a light blanket and followed him to the car. The drive was quiet, the sky glowing orange behind them. When they reached the alley by the market, Lytuna frowned in confusion. "Why are we here?" she asked. Alex parked the car, lifted Henry into his arms, and nodded toward the small storefront. "Come see." He opened the door. Soft light spilled into the room, revealing the clean space, the wooden stairs, the simple loft above, and the little vase of yellow daisies on the window. Lytuna froze. "Alex, what is this?" He handed her a small key. "It's for you," he said gently. "A place near the market. You can live here with Henry and sell fruit from the farm. You'll be close to people, close to safety, no more walking through the rain or worrying about storms." Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Tears shimmered in her eyes as she stepped inside, looking at the space, touching the wooden counter, the window, the stairs. "You did all this? For us?" Alex smiled softly. "You've worked so hard, Lytuna. You deserve a place that's yours." She turned to him, voice trembling. "It's beautiful, Alex. It feels like home." He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "It is home." Henry laughed in his arms, clapping his tiny hands. The room filled with the echo of joy, small, pure, and real. For the first time in a long while, Lytuna's eyes shone with peace. Alex whispered, "Welcome to your new beginning." The sun was dipping behind the grapefruit trees when Alex locked the door of the small shop. Lytuna stood quietly beside him, still holding the little key he had given her, her face glowing with wonder. "It's lovely," she whispered. "I never imagined something like this." Alex smiled softly. "I wanted you to have a place close to town, but not too far from the farm. Somewhere safe for you and Henry." Lytuna turned to him, her eyes warm. "You've already done so much, Alex. This is too kind." He shook his head. "It's what you deserve. Let's go home, and I'll tell you the rest of the plan." The drive back to the farm was quiet. Henry slept in Lytuna's arms, his little head resting on her shoulder. The last light of day flickered through the car window, painting the road in gold. After a few minutes, Lytuna asked, "You've been working on this for weeks, haven't you?" Alex smiled. "Longer. I started thinking about it after the last storm. Every time it rained, I worried about you and Henry. I knew I had to do something." She looked out at the horizon. "You always think ahead." He chuckled softly. Only when it comes to you. The farm appeared ahead, familiar and peaceful. Tuna carried Henry inside, while Alex set the lanterns on the porch. The air smelled of soil and ripe fruit, the first stars twinkling above. When she returned, he was still outside, leaning against the wooden railing. "I'll have people clean and decorate the place tomorrow," he said. "A few shelves, a small table by the door, maybe a signboard." Tuna blinked. "A signboard? For what?" Alex smiled. "For your fruit shop." She froze. "My shop?" "Yes," he said gently. "The space isn't just a place to stay. I want you to use it to sell fruit from the farm. You can bring the produce yourself, or I'll send workers to deliver it. Either way, it'll be your shop, your work." Tuna's lips parted in surprise. "You mean I'll be running it?" "Exactly. You love the farm, you love nature, and you understand what makes our fruit special. I think you'll do better than anyone." Her eyes softened. "You really believe I can?" Alex nodded. "I always have." She smiled through tears. "You thought of everything." He looked out across the orchard. "You deserve something steady. I've seen how hard you work, how you never complain. You give so much, Tuna. It's time you have something of your own." Her voice trembled. "You've given me more than I ever asked for." He smiled. "You've given me peace. That's more than I ever hoped for." Inside, the smell of warm food drifted through the small kitchen. Tuna had cooked earlier, rice, soup, and a dish of sautéed vegetables. Henry stirred awake, his small voice echoing softly. Alex lifted him and kissed his head. "Hungry, little man?" Tuna laughed. "He's always hungry when you're around." Alex smiled. "Because he knows I'll steal his food." They sat down together. The lamplight flickered gently, casting golden shadows across the table. Rain began to fall outside, tapping lightly on the roof. Tuna looked up, half worried. "Another storm?" Alex glanced toward the window, calm. "Don't worry, the new place won't leak. You'll be safe there." She smiled faintly. "Safe and busy if I'm running a shop." He chuckled. "You'll do it well. People will come not just for the fruit, but for your kindness. That's what makes everything you touch different." Tuna looked down shyly. "You always say things that make me nervous." "Because they're true," he said softly. They finished eating in comfortable silence. When Tuna poured him tea, her hands were steady. "Alex," she said quietly, "I don't know how to thank you." He shook his head. "You don't need to. You've already given me more than you know." "How?" she asked. He looked at her, eyes warm. "You gave me a reason to come home. Before you, it was all work, numbers, meetings, business. Now, I want to build something that lasts." Tuna blinked back tears. "And you're sure this is what you want?" "I've never been surer," Alex said gently. "This shop is only the beginning. It's your world, a world filled with the things you love." The rain outside grew heavier. Henry had fallen asleep again, his small hand gripping Tuna's sleeve. Alex walked to the window, watching the droplets race down the glass. "Tomorrow," he said, "I'll send a team to clean the place and bring fresh baskets. In a week, it'll be ready." Tuna stood beside him, her voice soft. "You'll help me set it up?" "Of course, every step." She smiled. "You never stop working." Alex laughed quietly. "Not when it's for you." The wind rustled the trees outside, and the lamplight flickered. Tuna leaned closer, resting her head lightly on his shoulder. "You always keep your promises," she said. He turned to her, smiling, "especially the ones that matter." They stayed like that for a while, the sound of rain outside, the warm scent of tea and fruit inside. The world felt small, simple, but full. Alex finally whispered, "This is what I've always wanted. Peace, honesty, hard work, and you." Tuna looked up, her voice barely a breath. "You already have all three." Alex smiled. "Then we'll just keep building from here." Outside, the rain washed the world clean, and inside that quiet farmhouse, two people began to dream, not of wealth or luxury, but of a life built on love, work, and truth. Alex secretly prepares a cozy new home near the market for Tuna and their son, Henry. He wants her to have a safer, happier life, a place where she can both live and sell fresh fruit from their farm. The small house has a warm loft for the two of them and space below for a fruit shop. Tuna is touched by his thoughtfulness, realizing how deeply Alex understands her love for nature and hard work. Together, they plan to turn the shop into something meaningful, a new beginning built on love, trust, and effort. That evening, they share dinner back at the farm as rain falls softly outside. In that quiet moment, they both feel that this simple life, filled with honesty and care, is the true happiness they've been searching for.